Networking and marketing made simple is for you, the business owner that has a product, service, or message that you truly believe in. My name is Scott Aaron, and each week we'll take a behind the scenes look at real world networking and marketing tactics while leveraging LinkedIn to get what you have in front of many more people. Thanks for spending time with me, and let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Networking and Marketing Made Simple. Super excited about today's episode, obviously for two reasons. Number one, got another amazing interview lined up for you guys, and I just want to say I appreciate all the feedback, all the positive reviews, and everything you guys continue to send us about how much you enjoy these interviews and the amazing guests that I have on here, because the big thing is that there are so many unknown, amazing business owners out there. I love being part of being that one of those people that is exposing you to all these new incredible people that can help solve the problems that you're having in your business. The second reason why I am excited is we're talking about one of my favorite topics. My wife and I talk about this often. She's obviously written a book on it, and it's about building your brand. And branding is such an important thing. And who I have for you guys today is Rich Kozak. He is the visionary founder and CEO of RichBrands, guiding people today in making your brand come alive and accelerating your impact. During his 40 plus years of experience, including sales and marketing for Fortune 50 companies, marketing research, project management, business development, then deep immersion and branding and rebranding, Rich has passionately shaped brands and their language for companies across hundreds of industries. So with that being said, Rich, welcome to today's episode.
Well, it's great to be here. Let's bring it up to date. For the last 10 years, I work only with individuals. So if you're an individual and you're listening to this, perk up, because this is for you. All right.
Awesome.
Hey, it's great to be here with the creator of the Friends of Gyms. Wasn't that what you told me?
Well, I was in the fitness industry back in the day, but I'm doing.
I love what you stand for. I love your expertise on LinkedIn, and branding is one of my favorite topics as well. So let's get going.
So, Rich, if you could rewind the tape in your business journey and press stop at a particular point where you feel that was your catalytic moment that led you to everything that you wanted to do and everything that you're doing now, what was that moment for you?
Wow. The real answer is there are several catalytic moments. I'll pick one, but the journey, looking at the journey in retrospect, it's the journey, not the moments. I would say one of the deepest I get it moments was when I changed my prayer to say, thank you for the gift. I get it. It's not my skill. It's a gift. And I am so grateful to have it. That moment in my life, coming from let's call it a bit of a headstrong, big title, executive vice president of an agency that had partners in 21 countries and global brand teams, and certified business consultant for global branding. And, I was pretty full of myself. And when I started working with individuals and felt things flowing through me that I didn't feel was coming from me, I realized it wasn't. My mom was an English teacher, so technically it's a predicate nominative. It wasn't I, but people don't talk like that. So it's like, it wasn't me. Okay, it's a gift, and that's a blessing. So that was the most defining, that was the most defining moment, I think, that really shifted me personally. And
So in going, like, this is I always love asking this question as well, for someone that obviously worked in the corporate world and then shifted their mindset, their perspective, and their business model to going out on their own as an entrepreneur. What was the biggest lesson that you learned in working for someone else that helped you succeed in working for yourself?
It's always the mistakes that we help others avoid or work through, because there's a lot of vicarious learning that happens there. And so, being blind for a company that's a $14 billion company that's blind, it behaves and speaks as if it's blind to the realities of how it's perceived. There are always huge gaps between, let's forget huge. There are always gaps. And I don't use the word always as a rule, but there are always gaps between the way a brand perceives itself and the way it is perceived by its key constituencies. And the idea of marketing communications in big boy branding is to fill those gaps and make sure that they're the same, and make sure that the identity, that the messaging, that the direction, the strategy is heading the brand toward where it has to go. And you got to get those gaps taken care of first. That's actually the first one of the steps in big corporate branding. So in individuals, we don't really have to deal with that. The concept is the same, but you don't need a humongous team and research, and you can get it done by asking what the vision of impact is and defining and languaging the brand to make those. And when the brand reopens its mouth, when it's been defined and languaged, everything is aligned with those impacts. And that prevents the miscommunication, the confusion from then on. And that's what impact-driven branding is all about. And it's perfect for people who really care about, they focus on the impacts they want to make on others through their work, not on money per se. They get to the money faster, but they're really impact-driven or impact-focused.
A question that comes up often is there a big difference in the way that someone should approach their branding strategy as a company versus an individual? So again, you work with mostly individuals now. Is there a glaring difference between what one does for branding a company versus someone branding themselves as an individual?
I would say no. The process is the same. It starts with vision. It starts with what owner, if it's a single owner creator, he may be doing $30 million of software business, but he created it, he's got the vision, he's the champion of the brand. Or if it's big corporate, it's whoever the champion of the brand is, who owns the way the brand moves forward and what its future is. They've got to have vision. If they don't, it's like it says in the Bible, it's like no vision, man perishes. So same with companies. It starts with the vision and then it's top down. So with a company, that vision is often strategic fit in an industry. It might include a path of acquisition. It might include a path of adding new technology or creating new technology. It's kind of back to Michael Porter's, 5 foundational elements of business, in his book, The Competitive Advantage. It's like things change, things evolve, and your vision has to lead that. So it starts with vision. Then it's definition and languaging that is unique, that is consistent. If it's not consistent across the board in the execution of the way the brand speaks, it's the same for big companies as it is for individuals. Consistency breeds trust. Inconsistency destroys it. So you gotta manage the 4 basic things that make a brand come alive and attract. Congruence with the heart of the brand. I'd say it's the person that created it or the person that owns it or the person that's leading it. With their heart, it's got to be congruent. If they're out of congruence, there's going to be conflict and it's going to mess things up. Number 2, consistency across the board. Number 3, unique language that transfers energy. And those are 2 things. It's unique language. They say what they do in a way that no one else does. And it transfers energy. If it doesn't transfer energy, it falls flat. So it's like you must manage that process, and people don't know that. They don't even know that, there are 4 things make a brand come alive. They don't know the process. They don't know how to do it. They just think branding is kind of an act of creativity, and then you're done. It's like, no. And the 4th is ongoing positive recognizability. So you got to have those 4. or the brand falls flat, and they have to be managed. $50 billion company, on solopreneur, same thing.
Love that. And again, I think it's nice to break things down into very simple terms, and everything is emotionally driven. So I believe in something, the 10-year, 10,000 hour habit, and you have 4x that. You have 40 years in branding.
I 47.
47.
I do.
So if we were to rewind the tape, 1977 is when you got started. So branding was much different in the sense of how branding was done. Obviously, technology and everything else that's going on, I don't want to say has made it easier for people to brand themselves, but there's different strategies. If you had to pinpoint one big difference between what people did back in 1977 when you broke into the branding industry compared to 2024, how would you pinpoint that one specific big difference between then and now and moving forward?
I would be I would be remiss if I didn't point out the ability to measure. In 1977, I was part of what we called an ad agency, and it evolved, it morphed into a branding consultancy over time. The work of David Ocker and all his books on the value of brand was a springboard, but the ability to prove that stuff works is huge. In the early days, it was like advertising works. Trust me. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, and it's not like that anymore. Take Kim Walsh Phillips.
You need the KPIs.
Kim Walsh Phillips will say, we manage everything, we measure everything we do. It's like, okay. And you couldn't then, but you can now.
Yeah, I mean, key performance indicators is big. I mean, every time you run a Facebook ad or Instagram ad or whatever it is, you can see if it's converting or not. Now, for the person that's listening to this, and I have a very large demographic of people that listen to this podcast that are solopreneurs, they're coaches, they're consultants, and a lot of them are seasoned, but there are a fair amount that are kind of just breaking into the industry. What would you say to that new person that's coming into their own business? The biggest mistake that they can avoid making when building out their personal brand, specifically using social media?
Well, you kind of added I don't know what you call it. That was kind of a surprise. Can we take the question without the social media and then add the social media?
Sure.
Okay. The absolute basic, do never forget this. And if you behave as if you forgot it, shame on you. Most people, and it could be everybody, but let's not broadly generalize. Most people think, most entrepreneurs, think what we need is marketing. We really need marketing. We need leads. Let's get some leads. We hear things as inane, and I will market as that as, look, we don't have time for branding. We just need some leads, and we'll worry about the branding later. That is backwards and stupid. Here's what you need to remember. Your marketing and I mean you listening right now, your marketing, whatever you choose to do, because there's lots of marketing execution elements. And I mean everything from your logo to the Facebook stuff to to what you put on your business card to what it says on the homepage of your landing page or of your website. All of those first impression management things that create that startup perception that is your brand in other people's heads. All of that is marketing execution. Your marketing at its best, when it is at its best, will be the execution of an excellent branding strategy. Don't ever forget that.
I could not agree more.
I was just in New York doing a celebrity speakers training, and we created a speech called Brand First or Die. And it uses the Netflix versus, Blockbuster story where Blockbuster kept doing what they're doing. Their business died. Netflix has vision of the future. They became a creator, so they keep seeing it, and every year more and more entrepreneurs, and I'm speaking to you listening, go one of two ways. They become blockbusters and keep doing what they're doing, or they become Netflixes, and they allow their vision of the impacts they clearly see making when they thrive at their next level, highest level of work, drive how they say who they are, what they do, and they define and language their brand so clearly that everything they say and do aligns with those impacts. They race to the impacts, and people go, wow, they're sure lucky. It's not luck. Branding is a process, it's steps. People don't know that. They think it's tricky talk and a campaign and a look and feel. It is a managed process. And I mean everything from what goes in your logo, including language that can position and send message, to the way you show up when you are on a Zoom call. I mean, it's everything because, and here's the other thing, from the very beginning, your brand, and again, I'm talking to you listening, remember, your brand is not what you think it is. It's what everybody else thinks it is. It's their perception. It's not your perception. I have so many, I offer a talk to Rich for 30 minutes and I listen to people's hearts and we talk about possibilities for them. I still do that for free. I should be on a beach or a yacht, people tell me, 47 years, but I'm on Zoom. So it's like people hop on and they tell me and they say things like, well, and I say, well, tell me about what you do. And they take 3 minutes to tell me about what they do. It's like, if it takes them 3 minutes to tell me what they do, they don't even have clarity. Clarity is the missing piece. So if it doesn't matter what you think your brand is. You can tell me whatever you say, it's irrelevant. It's what everyone else perceives it as. That's why consistency across the board is so key, because you're constantly making first impressions. You're constantly planting the seeds of what makes you unique, of getting credit for what makes you outstanding and different, of positioning your brand so you can charge what you're worth. You solopreneurs, hello, that's one of the missing pieces. It's like people say, oh, we don't know how to position ourselves to charge what we're worth. Well, it's part of those four things. That congruence with your heart, you got to be, and what that means is congruence with your heart. You don't need a brand that's not you. You get to have a brand, a look, a feel, a language that is purely you. Now, you might think you're this kind of a coach, like we want to coach addicts, okay, that are in programs and you'll help them emerge. But see, you're trained in NLP, you could actually go and coach their business. It's like, but right now you're coach addict. Well, if you pigeonhole yourself, you'll never get beyond it. But if you define the umbrella brand that includes all those things, you're the person that can see addicts without their addiction. You have a gift. Whatever your gift is, your highest level, we're all given wonderful gifts, and we get to touch the world as significantly as possible with the gifts we're given. You define your brand at that umbrella. And that's the question in personal branding. What is the umbrella? You won't pigeonhole yourself as the stress doctor or the money healer you position yourself so that there's no one like you and it's purely you. Imagine if you could do that. Guess what? You can't. That's what we do all day long. That's why you and I hit it off so well, Scott. When you were on my podcast, I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy so gets it. And so boy, those are the two things. Your marketing when it's at its best is going to be the execution of an excellent branding strategy. And your brand is a perception, but it's not yours. It's everyone else's. And it's your job to do those marketing things to shape that consistent perception where everything the brand says and does aligns. And it's doable. That's the process. That's what branding done right is. Welcome to RichBrands.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, we call that the passenger side perspective. So it's taking a look at things at the person that's sitting next to you, not the person that's driving the car. It's putting yourself in the position of the person on the other side of the computer screen and how they're going to resonate with it. And then when you create everything from that perspective, it's going to allow you to connect the dots that much easier.
So you raised the Facebook thing, you raised the social media thing. So let's speak directly to the effect of social media on your brand. People that come to me, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds over the last few years that have personally come to me and we talk about this, they often, if they're a content brand, because they have an expertise, they want to push out content. And there's this thought out there that like any content will do. So what does it say to people if you just grabbing quotes from Ben Franklin or the Dalai Lama and slapping them on Facebook? You don't even have your own identity. Where's your quotes? Where's what you stand for? Where are the things that you want people to understand that you're unique at? Where your message hierarchy? It's like, that's one of those, right? So, and oh, you got a new dog. Hey, here's my dog. It's like, people don't be so tempted to pull the trigger on any, content, because your content shapes the perception. So that's why real branding does messaging hierarchy. That first message that overcomes the barrier that keeps people from letting your brand in. If the barrier is, oh, another life coach, yeah, they're all the same. You have to overcome that barrier. If it's like, I don't understand how she could be an expert at that, or what's the importance of resilience to my life, or whatever it is. Oh, another book about money. The last 5 books didn't help me. This will not help my life. And this thing is a powerful book that help your life. You got to put something on that book cover that makes people go, whoa, maybe this is different. You have to overcome the barrier. That's just the first message hierarchy message. So it's doing the work that sets up the brand for continuous, consistent communication and success. And people think it's luck. It is not luck. There can be some, things go viral, or you get interviewed by somebody that's important and it's at a particular time. There's those kind of luck. But the definition and languaging of a brand and its execution consistently is not luck. It is a process.
I love that. Now, Rich, if people are interested, I have one final question before we get to that. If people are interested in learning more about you and how you help the individuals, the coaches, the consultants, those individual brands, what's the best way for people to connect with you, either online or on social media?
Well, go to our website and you'll get 2 things right on above the fold on the homepage. The website is simply, you see it above me, RichBrands, richbrands.org, richbrands.org. Top of the homepage, it says, talk to Rich for 30 minutes. Click it. You'll be on my calendar, and I'll be listening to you and connecting to your heart and hearing about you and how you became you and what you see. And I'll be talking to you about possibilities. That'll be a lot of fun. Scroll down that homepage to what's called the special half-day event. Every month, we do a half-day event called Branding You with Impact. Spend the $97. It's worth $2,000. You will learn nuggets. You will hear things. And I do a little short class at the end of it. It's only a half day on logos and taglines, an area where people make stupid mistakes. It's the do's and don'ts. And message hierarchy. How do you create a message hierarchy? And I deal directly those in every one of those. But you'll see people that have been through the work. You'll hear stories. You'll see examples of what it means to define and language your brand and what happens when you do and what happens when you don't. And that will shift your mindset. So richbrands.org.
Awesome. So all that information that Rich shared will obviously be in the description of the episode, the show notes, and the email that you received, obviously, to listen to this. You're not going to have to look too far. So Rich, final question before we sign off. What does success truly mean to you?
Boy, that's a great question. I'm really glad you asked that because it's a rare question and most people aren't at the point of their life that they get to do it. My experience is it is when work becomes love. When what you do brings you so much joy because you know in your heart, you were meant to do it. And you do it, you would do it for free. and you do it and it helps people and it touches people. And it's like, when you are in that position, that is success. Now, we talk about 3 dimensions of what we do. We say at RichBrands, we are evolving individuals' brands with a foundation of clarity, which is often missing. Longevity, meaning imagine your brand is now completely clear and the way it communicates is clear, and you're in love instead of in work. Imagine if you could do that, not for a few more years, but for a few more decades.
Mm.
Getting to that point earlier in your life, in your career, is an absolute blessing, and with divine purpose. See, we're all made for a reason, and we get to step into it once we feel it. So if any of that resonates with you, this is definitely the right place.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. You'll never work a day in your life if you love what you do. And I can definitely, agree to that sentiment. My wife and I pinch ourselves every single day that we get to do what we get to do, and completely on point. And Rich, I just want to thank you again for being here today, shedding some light on branding and everything that you've done and everything that you've experienced in your career, and obviously leaving my audience better. So thank you again for being here today.
Very welcome, and thank you for your resilience. You truly are one of the youngest people in which I've found that I love what I do, and your perspective reflects that, and all that you've been through, and health is an important part of that, which leads it to longevity. So keep doing what you're doing, and everybody, keep listening to Scott. Keep listening to Scott. He gets it.
Thank you, Rich. I appreciate that. And again, for all the supporters of the podcast, just appreciate you very, very much for keeping this show alive. And obviously, you guys know what the goal is for this year, 1 million downloads. We are about 75% of the way there. And I do feel that we will hit that by the end of this year with your support. So as always, leave a rating and review. Let us know what you love most. And I just want to say thank you again for everyone being here today. So I hope you found the episode helpful. Love and gratitude. And I'll talk to you next time. Thank you so much for checking out today's episode. If you could, please support this podcast by hopping over to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or any place that you're listening to this. Leave us a rating and review. Let us know what you loved most and what you would like to hear more of. But also, if you would like to learn how to take your business to the next level, whether it's using LinkedIn or working directly with myself and Nancy in our intimate group coaching programs, you can head over to www.thetimetogrow.com or scottaaron.net to learn more. Thank you again for your support, love, and gratitude, and I'll talk to you soon.